You settle into your seat as the train pulls away from Cusco's San Pedro station, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the platform. The window is cool against your temple as you rest your head, watching the city's adobe buildings gradually give way to open countryside. Other passengers are finding their own rhythms of comfort, unwrapping scarves, sliding books from bags, sharing quiet conversations that will soon fade into the larger quiet of the journey. The train follows the Urubamba River, that silver thread that has carved its path through these mountains for countless millennia. Sometimes the river runs close enough that you can see individual rocks beneath the water, worn smooth by the endless flow. Sometimes it curves away, hidden behind stands of eucalyptus trees that were brought here from Australia over a century ago, but now seem as natural to the landscape as the native quinoa growing in terraced fields. The rhythm of the rails creates its own music. Ta-dum, ta-dum, ta-dum. It's a sound that belongs to another era, when travel meant time to think, to observe, to let the mind wander with the landscape. Your breathing naturally begins to match this rhythm, deeper and slower than the quick pace of the city you've left behind. Through the window, you watch farmers working fields that climb the hillsides in ancient steps, the same fields their ancestors tended, using techniques passed down through generations like treasured knowledge. A woman in a bright polera, those layered skirts that bloom like flowers, guides a pair of oxen along a furrow. Children help gather potatoes, their voices carrying faintly on the wind, mixing with the train's steady percussion. Everything here moves to an older rhythm, one that measures time in seasons rather than minutes, in harvests rather than hours. The conductor passes through the car, his footsteps soft on the worn carpet, checking tickets with practiced efficiency. His uniform is crisp, despite the warmth of the afternoon, and he greets each passenger with a nod and a quiet "Buenas tardes." The whisper of paper tickets, the click of his punch, the gentle sway as he moves, all of it adds to the journey's growing sense of ritual. When he reaches you, his weathered face breaks into a slight smile, as if recognizing a fellow traveler who understands that this journey is about more than simply reaching a destination. Across the aisle, an elderly couple shares a thermos of something warm, tea perhaps, or mate de coca, that ancient remedy for altitude and fatigue. They pour carefully into small cups, the liquid steaming in the slanted light. The woman catches your eye and offers a cup with a gesture. You decline with a grateful smile, but the moment of connection adds to the journey's growing sense of shared purpose, shared peace. The sacred valley unfolds outside your window like a living painting. These patchwork fields once fed an empire, their colors shifting in the breeze, deep green corn, purple-red quinoa, dark earth waiting to be planted. Stone walls older than memory climb impossible slopes, the same boundaries that existed when Inca runners carried messages from Ecuador to Chile. Each terrace holds centuries of patience, generations of hands working the same soil, planting by the same seasons. As the train travels northwest, the landscape begins its slow transformation. The high, windswept plains around Cusco gradually give way to deeper, more sheltered valleys. The air grows noticeably warmer, and with the warmth come new scents carried through the open windows. Unfamiliar flowers, damp earth, the green smell of vegetation growing without the harsh frosts of the higher elevations. You notice the change in plants first. Where before there were mainly grasses and low shrubs adapted to the cold, thin air, Now you see the beginnings of more luxuriant growth. Agave plants spike from rocky outcrops. Trees grow taller, their branches beginning to host other plants, the epiphytes that mark the transition toward cloud forest. A passion flower vine drapes over a stone wall, its alien-looking blooms catching the light like small suns. The river changes too. Where it was broad and relatively calm near Cusco, here it begins to show its power. White water marks its passage over hidden rocks. The sound of it mingles with the train's rhythm, creating a layered symphony of movement. Water and wheels, both carrying you forward, both following paths carved by time and use, and the patient work of finding the way of least resistance. A vendor moves through the car with a basket of snacks, chocolate con queso, those enormous kerneled corn cobs served with fresh cheese, and small bags of habas, the salty fried broad beans that make perfect travel food. The smell is wonderful, earthy and real. A few passengers make purchases, and soon the car fills with the comfortable sounds of quiet eating, of paper rustling, of contentment found in simple pleasures. Station by station, the train carries you deeper into the mountains. Some stops are merely platforms beside the tracks, serving communities that have been here since before the Inca. Their names are poetry of Quechua syllables: Poroi, Cachimayo, Ollantaytambo. Local people board and disembark with the ease of long practice. Women carrying bundles wrapped in bright cloth, men with tools for working the fields, children in school uniforms heading home for the day. At Ollantaytambo, there's a longer pause. This was once a royal estate, a place where Inca nobility came to escape Cusco's thin air and formal obligations. Through the window, you can see the massive terraces climbing the mountainside, their stones fitted with such precision that they've survived earthquakes that would level modern buildings. Pink granite catches the afternoon light, glowing like warm honey. Then the whistle sounds, and the train moves on, leaving the ancient fortress to its memories. The sun is lower now, painting everything golden. The quality of light in mountains is unlike anywhere else, clear and pure, seeming to add weight and dimension to everything it touches. Shadows pool in the valleys like molten bronze, slowly spreading as the day ages. Through the window, you watch this daily transformation, this gentle slide from afternoon into evening. Your fellow passengers have settled into the journey's rhythm. Books have been set aside. Conversations have faded to occasional murmurs. The elderly woman across the aisle has fallen asleep, her head on her husband's shoulder. He adjusts her shawl with infinite tenderness, then returns to his own quiet contemplation of the passing landscape. A young artist sketches in a leather journal, trying to capture something of the mountain's magnitude, though you sense she knows the impossibility of the task. The train rounds a dramatic curve, and suddenly the valley narrows. Sheer granite walls rise on both sides, so tall you have to press close to the window to see where they meet the sky. These are the bones of the earth, exposed by the river's patient work. The rock faces are painted with minerals, iron oxide creating rust-red streaks, copper leaving traces of green, silver deposits that glint when the light strikes just right. The vegetation is changing again, becoming denser, more tropical. This is the true beginning of the cloud forest, that magical zone where the Andes meet the Amazon. Orchids appear on the moss-covered rocks beside the tracks, delicate splashes of pink and white against the green. Some are no bigger than your thumbnail. Others cascade in slow waterfalls of blooms. You close your eyes for a moment, just listening to the train's rhythm, the distant river song. When you open them again, a blue morpho butterfly drifts past the window, its wings catching the light like stained glass. Then another, sulphur yellow, floating rather than flying. They move like thoughts on the edge of sleep, present one moment, dissolved the next, leaving only impressions of colour and grace. For a long moment, nothing changes, just the train's rhythm, the river's whisper, the slow transformation of light. Your reflection in the window grows more visible as the outside world begins its gentle fade toward evening. The train slows as it navigates the increasingly dramatic terrain. Through the window, when the angle is right, you can see the engine ahead, puffing white steam into the mountain air. It looks like something from a dream of trains, from a time when travel was as much about the journey as the arrival. The other passengers seem to feel it too, this sense of moving through a landscape that exists partially outside ordinary time. The river is your constant companion, sometimes close enough to hear over the train's rhythm, sometimes just a silver glimpse through the trees, but always there, always flowing, always carrying its cargo of snowmelt and rain toward the Amazon far below. The Inca called it Wilcamayu, the sacred river, and traveling alongside it, you begin to understand why. There's something deeply calming about water that knows its way, that follows its path with such certainty. As the journey continues, you find yourself sinking deeper into your seat, deeper into the moment. Your shoulders drop, releasing tensions you didn't know you were holding. The rhythmic sounds, the play of light, the constantly changing yet somehow consistent landscape, all of it works to quiet the mind. Your breathing has found the train's rhythm now, slow and steady. Your eyelids grow pleasantly heavy, not quite sleeping, but not quite awake either. This is the gift of train travel, this gentle suspension between departure and arrival, this time outside of time. The boundary between you and the journey begins to soften, like watercolors bleeding into wet paper. For a long moment, there's only stillness within motion. The train carries you, the river guides you, the mountains hold you. And as the sacred valley continues to unfold outside your window, as the light continues its golden transformation of the world, you let yourself sink fully into the journey's embrace. Aguas Calientes is still miles ahead, Machu Picchu still hidden in tomorrow's mist. For now, there's only this, the train's lullaby, the river's constant song, and the mountains standing eternal watch as you're carried deeper and deeper into their ancient peace. The sound that wakes you isn't your alarm, but something softer, the first stirrings of a mountain town coming to life. Through the thin walls of your hotel room, you hear water running in pipes, the creak of floorboards as other guests begin their day, the distant clatter of dishes being prepared in the kitchen below. Your room is still perfectly dark, but there's a quality to the darkness that speaks of approaching dawn, that subtle shift from deep night to morning's first promise. You lie still for a moment, orienting yourself. The river's voice is still there, constant as breathing, though quieter now than it seemed last evening. The air through your cracked window carries new scents, wood smoke from early cooking fires, the green smell of dew on tropical plants, something floral and sweet you can't identify. The altitude here is lower than Cusco, and your breathing comes easier, deeper. Your phone shows 4:47 a.m. No need for the alarm you set. Your body knows what your conscious mind has been trying to ignore all night. Today is not a day for sleeping late. You dress by feel in the clothes you laid out the evening before, each movement deliberate but unhurried. The cool air raises goosebumps on your skin, a gentle awakening of nerve endings, a preparation for what's to come. Downstairs, the hotel's small lobby glows with warm lamplight. The owner is already at her post, preparing thermoses of coca tea for the early departing guests. She nods as you appear, understanding without words the mix of anticipation and sleepiness that marks all pre-dawn pilgrims. The tea she hands you is perfectly hot, the ceramic cup warming your palms. You sip slowly, tasting earth and morning, feeling the subtle clarity it brings. Outside, Aguas Calientes is transforming. What was a sleeping town just minutes ago now shows signs of purposeful movement. Headlamps bob along the narrow streets like fireflies. Hotel doors open and close with soft clicks. Voices carry in the still air, but everyone speaks in whispers, as if louder tones might disturb something sacred in these pre-dawn moments. The walk to the bus station takes only minutes, but in the darkness, with the river loud beside the path and the mountains invisible but felt, it feels like crossing into another world. Other travelers converge from side streets, all moving in the same direction, all carrying the same quiet excitement. A dog trots past, seemingly aware of the early morning ritual, its paws silent on the damp stones. The bus station is really just a widening of the road where buses line up in the darkness. Already a queue has formed, early risers determined to be among the first to enter the citadel. You take your place, noting how different people prepare for the wait. Some stand in meditative silence. Others share quiet conversations with companions. A few lean against the wall, eyes closed, conserving energy for the climb ahead. The buses themselves seem patient in the darkness, their windows reflecting the few street lights. When the first one opens its doors, there's no rush, no pushing. Everyone moves with the same measured pace, finding seats, settling in for the journey upward. You claim a window seat on the right side, knowing that the best views of the valleys will be there as dawn breaks. The bus fills with a soft rustle of jackets and day packs. Languages mix in whispered fragments: Spanish, English, Portuguese, German, Japanese, French. But regardless of the words, the tone is the same: hushed, expectant, touched with wonder. A child asks a question and is answered with gentle shushing. An elderly man helps his wife with her jacket. These small human moments add to, rather than detract from, the sense of pilgrimage. Then the engine starts, a low rumble that you feel as much as hear, and the bus begins to move. Your shoulders settle against the seat, releasing the morning's eagerness into patient waiting. The headlights sweep across the road ahead, illuminating the first of the switchbacks that will carry you up the mountain. In the darkness, you can't see the dramatic drops, the impossible engineering of the road. There's only the sensation of climbing, the engine working against gravity, the subtle pressure in your ears as altitude increases, back and forth, back and forth. The road switches direction 14 times, a zigzag carved into the mountain's face. With each turn, your body sways gently, finding the bus's rhythm. Through your window, when the angle is right, you can see the lights of Aguas Calientes growing smaller below, until they look like a handful of stars that have fallen into the valley's palm. The darkness is complete, beyond the reach of the headlights, but you can sense the massive presence of the mountains, the way you can feel a cathedral's vastness even with your eyes closed. Someone a few rows back has already surrendered to sleep again, their soft snoring adding to the bus's symphony of sounds. The driver navigates each turn with practiced ease, his movements economical, almost meditative. There's no music playing, no tour guide commentary, just the engine's rhythm and the breathing of 30 souls ascending together through the darkness. Halfway up, the bus pauses briefly to let another bus pass on its way down, perhaps workers from the night shift or the very last of yesterday's visitors. The drivers exchange a few words in Spanish, their voices carrying in the thin air. In that moment of stillness, with the engine idling, you can hear the forest around you. Not silent, but full of subtle sounds. the drip of moisture from leaves, the rustle of something small in the undergrowth, the distant call of a night bird finishing its song before dawn. Then you're moving again, always upward, and the sky begins its daily transformation. It's subtle at first, not light exactly, but a lessening of darkness. The black outside your window shifts to the deepest blue, barely perceptible, but definitely there. Stars that were brilliant moments ago begin to fade. The horizon, invisible until now, starts to define itself as a line between dark mountain and slightly less dark sky. The anticipation in the bus is palpable now. People lean toward windows, cameras are checked and rechecked, but there's still that maintained quiet, that collective understanding that some moments are too large for chatter. You find yourself holding your breath as the bus makes its final turns, climbing toward the entrance that waits somewhere above in the growing light. The sky continues its color progression, deep blue to midnight blue, to that particular pre-dawn blue that has no name. Clouds become visible, clinging to the peaks like silk scarves, their edges beginning to glow with reflected light from a sun still hidden below the horizon. The forest around you is waking too. Bird calls begin, tentative at first, single notes testing the day, then growing more confident, more complex. The bus releases you at the entrance complex just as the sky blushes its first pink. The air is cool, perhaps 50 degrees, and thin enough that your first deep breath comes up short, but it's clean air, carrying the scent of dew on leaves, earth warming slightly, that particular mountain mixture of stone and vegetation and mist. You join the quiet line at the entrance gates. Other buses arrive and disgorge their passengers, but even with more people, the atmosphere remains hushed. Everyone moves with purpose, but without hurry. Tickets are produced, checked, scanned with electronic beeps that seem too modern for this ancient approach. But then you're through, past the last barrier between you and what you've come so far to see. Beyond the entrance, a short path winds upward through the morning mist. Stone steps, some original Inca construction worn smooth by millions of feet, carry you through the final stretch of cloud forest. The vegetation is thick with moisture. Moss, ferns, leaves beading with dew. You walk easily, anticipation building with each step. Spiderwebs span the path, made visible by dewdrops. Water drips everywhere, a gentle percussion. The morning light filters through the canopy, creating a green-tinted softness. A blue morpho butterfly drifts past, its wings catching the light like stained glass. Then another appears, floating rather than flying. They move like thoughts on the edge of sleep. The path begins to curve, the vegetation starting to thin. You sense rather than see that you're approaching something significant. Your heart beats faster. The mist seems to brighten ahead. Other visitors have slowed their pace, everyone sensing the moment approaching. The forest parts, the path opens, and suddenly, the whole of Machu Picchu spreads before you. The first sight stops you completely. Your legs, which carried you up all those steps, suddenly feel unable to take another, because there it is, the impossible made real. Stone terraces cascade down the mountainside in perfect green steps, emerging from and disappearing into clouds that breathe with the mountain. Buildings materialize from the mist, some intact with their distinctive trapezoidal doorways, others just suggestions of walls. And behind it all, Machu Picchu rises like something from a dream, its peak wrapped in golden morning light. You move forward slowly, almost stumbling, until you find a low wall slightly off the main viewing area. The stone is cold through your clothes as you sit, grounding you in physical reality. Your breathing deepens and slows, matching the mist's gentle movement, because everything else feels impossibly dreamlike, the way the morning reveals the city in layers of silk and shadow, the play of early light on ancient stones, the sheer improbability of this place, this achievement, this preservation. Others are having the same experience. Cameras hang forgotten, phones remain pocketed. This first encounter is too large for capture, too profound for sharing. It demands only presence, only witness. You sit on your cold stone and watch as Machu Picchu reveals itself layer by layer. A terrace appears from the mist, a temple emerges, the urban sector takes shape. It's like watching creation itself, the world forming from primordial clouds. The sun hasn't reached the city yet, but the sky above is brightening toward blue. The temperature is rising subtly. Birds call from the ruins, not the forest birds from your climb, but birds that live among the stones. A hummingbird zips past, its wings a blur, heading for flowers you can't see. Somewhere in the mist below, a viscatcher calls, that strange rabbit-like creature that has made the ruins its home. You don't know how long you sit there. Time has done something strange, stretched and compressed simultaneously. The sun climbs higher, warming the stone beneath you, warming your face. The city is almost fully revealed now, spread out in all its planned perfection. The terraces show their true extent. The buildings reveal their relationships. The paths between them become clear. For a long moment, nothing moves except the drifting mist. Nothing sounds except distant bird calls and your own quiet breathing. You sit, you watch, you breathe. The stones hold their silence about who lived here, why they left. They offer only their presence, their persistence, their perfect integration with the landscape. And somehow, that's enough. More than enough. You sit a moment longer, no longer needing to understand, only to be present. The morning will unfold as it will. The stones will share what they choose. For now, there is only this quiet, seated witness, this gentle breathing, this perfect patience learned from the mountains themselves. The mist continues its dance, thinner now, softer, like thoughts at the edge of sleep. And you rest here, held between earth and sky, between ancient stones and morning light, completely at peace. The morning has warmed considerably as you make your way deeper into the citadel. The early mist has burned away, leaving the air crystal clear, every edge sharp against the blue sky. You find yourself drawn to a shaded corner, where massive stone blocks create a natural shelter from the climbing sun. The temperature difference is immediate, cool shadows after bright warmth, like stepping into a cave made of fitted stone. You settle against the wall, feeling its solidity through your clothes. The granite is smooth here, polished by centuries of weather, and perhaps by other backs seeking the same rest. Your fingers trace the joints between stones, marveling at the precision. No mortar, no gap wide enough for a blade of grass, just stone, resting against stone, in perfect balance, holding each other in place through geometry and gravity alone. This wall, like all the walls here, was built by human hands, not with modern tools, but with simple implements and infinite patience. You try to imagine the soft sounds of that construction, the gentle tap of shaping stone, voices low and rhythmic in Quechua, the whisper of grass ropes as workers shifted massive blocks. Each stone would have been chosen, shaped, tested, adjusted. Some say a single block might have taken weeks to perfect. Your shoulders soften as you consider this patience. These builders were following visions from Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui, the ninth ruler who transformed a small kingdom into an empire. But Machu Picchu was something different from his other projects. Most likely, it was a royal retreat, a place where the emperor could rest from the thin air and responsibilities of Cusco. From your shaded spot, you can see how the city follows the mountain's contours. Nothing is forced. Where the bedrock rises, the builders incorporated it into their design. Where natural terraces existed, they enhanced them. Its architecture as conversation with the landscape, each human addition responding to what the mountain offered. The Inca had a word for this: aini, reciprocity, the give and take that maintains balance in all things. A sound draws your attention, water running through stone. You rise and follow it to one of the fountains, where spring water still flows through channels carved 5 centuries ago. The engineering is remarkable. The Inca diverted a natural spring on the slopes above, bringing it into the city through a stone canal that runs for nearly half a mile. The gradient had to be perfect, steep enough to maintain flow, gentle enough to prevent erosion. You cup your hands under the flow. The water is cold, tasting of stone and sky. This is the same water the Inca drank, following the same path, making the same music. The fountain has 16 levels, each creating a slightly different sound as water falls from basin to basin. Was this intentional? Did the builders tune their fountains like instruments? You'll never know, but the possibility makes you listen more carefully to the water's layered song. Your shoulders soften as you listen to the water's ancient song. The sound is hypnotic, constant yet varied, like a lullaby that's been playing for half a millennium. The sun has climbed higher, and you seek another shaded spot, this time in what archaeologists call the royal residence. The name is speculative. No written records survive to tell us who lived where. But the quality of stonework here is exceptional. The rooms larger, the views more commanding. You sit in what might have been a noble's chamber, looking out through a trapezoidal window at the peaks beyond. These mountains were not just scenery to the Inca. They were apus, powerful spirits that controlled weather, fertility, and fortune. Huayna Picchu rises behind the city like a guardian. Other peaks stand watch on every horizon. Machu Picchu sits at the center of this sacred landscape, positioned to honor these stone ancestors, integrated into a geography that was as spiritual as it was physical. You think about the people who lived here at the city's height. Not many, perhaps 750 souls, enough to maintain the terraces, to perform the rituals, to serve the royal household. They would have been specialists, priests who could read the sky, engineers who understood water, farmers who could coax plenty from thin soil, weavers whose textiles told stories in colored thread. Their days would have followed the sun, up before dawn to greet the first light with offerings of coca leaves, working the terraces as morning warmed the stones, resting in shade during the heat of midday, perhaps here, in this very spot. Afternoon tasks as shadows lengthened, evening rituals as the sun touched the western peaks. You feel your breathing slow to match this ancient rhythm, a life bounded by stone and sky, by season and ceremony. Each day like a breath, in with the dawn, out with the dusk. But this life ended, suddenly it seems. Around 1572, less than a century after the city's construction, Machu Picchu was abandoned. No signs of violence, no evidence of destruction. The people simply left, taking what they could carry, leaving behind what was too heavy or too sacred to move. Why? The Spanish had conquered the Inca Empire by then, but they never found this mountain citadel. Disease might have been the cause. European illnesses were devastating indigenous populations. Or perhaps with the empire fallen and the old ways under attack, there was simply no reason to maintain this remote sacred site. The jungle began its patient reclamation almost immediately. Vines crept over walls, trees sprouted from plazas, roofs collapsed, letting in rain and seeds. Within a generation, the cloud forest had drawn its green veil over the stones, but the terraces were too well built to disappear completely, the walls too solid to crumble. Machu Picchu became a secret held by the mountains, known only to a few local families who farmed some of the lower terraces and grazed their animals among the ruins. A lizard appears on the wall near your hand, basking in a spot of sun that has found its way into your shaded refuge. It regards you with one ancient eye, perfectly still, except for the pulse of breathing in its throat. You remain equally still, sharing this moment of mutual observation. The lizard's ancestors were here before the Inca, will be here long after the last tourist departs. It knows nothing of empires or abandonment, only the eternal now of sun on stone. The sound of voices draws you from your contemplation. A tour group is passing, their guide explaining dates and theories in animated Spanish, but their words fade as they move on, leaving you again in quiet. This is one of Machu Picchu's gifts. Even with thousands of daily visitors, it offers pockets of solitude for those who seek them. You think about the American professor who brought Machu Picchu to world attention in 1911. He wasn't the first outsider to reach the ruins, but he had cameras and connections. Most importantly, he had local guides who had always known where the city waited. When he first climbed through the jungle to reach the citadel, he found families living peacefully among the ruins. A young boy led him through the overgrowth to see the principal buildings. Trees grew from the plazas, vines covered the temples. But the bones of the city were intact, waiting beneath the green shroud. The discovery was really a revealing, local knowledge meeting outside ambition. You shift position, finding a new angle against the ancient wall. The stone has warmed where the sun has touched it, creating a patchwork of temperatures. Your hand finds a particularly smooth section, worn by centuries of weather, or perhaps by other hands seeking the same connection. There's something profound about touching stones shaped by people 500 years dead, yet still performing their function, still standing exactly as they were placed. The afternoon light is changing the city again. What was sharp and clear in morning sun now glows with golden warmth. Shadows are beginning to lengthen, creating new geometries among the terraces. You notice details invisible in the morning, the way certain stones seem to glow from within, the subtle color variations in the granite, places where crystal veins hold the light like captured starlight. The afternoon quiet settles into your body, releasing the day's walking. Each breath comes deeper, slower. Water continues its ancient conversation in the fountains. Wind moves through stone doorways, each opening creating a different pitch. Birds call from the temple walls, not the forest birds of morning, but the residents who have made the ruins home. A pair of vizcachas appear on a distant terrace, grazing on the grass with mechanical precision. Life continues here, adapted to stone and altitude and the daily tide of human visitors. You think about continuity and change. The stones remain, but the context has transformed entirely. Where once priests performed rituals, now tourists take photographs. Where nobles planned empire, backpackers eat box lunches. The same sun tracks across the same sky, but the eyes watching it have different dreams, different gods, different reasons for climbing this mountain. Yet something essential persists. Call it the spirit of place, call it accumulated human intention, call it the dialogue between builders and landscape that these stones embody. Thousands come here seeking something: beauty, mystery, connection to the past, a good photo for social media. Most find more than they expected. The stones offer their presence to all equally, their silence speaking across centuries. The shadows have grown longer while you've been sitting. The tour groups are thinning as afternoon buses depart for Aguascalientes. The city is beginning its daily return to quiet. You stand slowly, joints stiff from stillness, and brush dust from your clothes. But you're not ready to leave this shaded sanctuary just yet. You turn back to the wall that has sheltered you, placing both palms flat against the stone. It's warm and solid and impossibly old. You think of the hands that shaped it, the eyes that saw it new, the generations who lived within these walls. All gone now, returned to earth and memory. But their work remains, patient as the mountain. The warmth from the stone travels up your arms, releasing any last tension. You stand this way for a long moment, feeling the stored sun, listening to water sing through channels older than any song you know. The stones remember everything, and for this moment, they're sharing their memories with you, wordlessly, through warmth and weight, and the simple fact of their standing. You release the wall and step back into the sun. The warmth washes over you like a blessing. Somewhere in the city, other visitors are having their own moments of connection, their own conversations with stone and history. The afternoon stretches ahead, full of possibility, but it will unfold at its own pace, in its own time. The stones have taught you patience. There's no need to hurry. Machu Picchu has waited 5 centuries. It can wait a little longer while you find your own rhythm in its ancient paths. The afternoon has settled into its deepest warmth as you leave the shaded sanctuary of the walls. The day tour groups are departing now, their voices fading down the paths toward the entrance, leaving behind a different kind of quiet. Not the hushed anticipation of morning, but the drowsy peace of afternoon, when the stones have absorbed hours of sun and the city seems to exhale slowly. You find yourself drawn to the agricultural terraces, those green steps that cascade down the mountainside in perfect rhythm. The grass here is kept short by the resident llamas, creating a soft carpet that invites rest. You choose a spot on one of the upper levels, far from the main paths, where the view opens across the entire valley. The grass releases a subtle fragrance as you settle onto it, something herbal and clean, mixed with the warmth of earth. Lying back, you feel the ground beneath you, solid and ancient. The grass cushions you from the stone below, but you can still sense its presence, the massive retaining walls that have held these terraces in place for centuries. Above, the sky is the particular blue that comes only at altitude, deeper than lowland skies, closer somehow, as if you could reach up and touch it. A shadow passes over your face, and you open your eyes to see a condor circling high above. Then another joins it, and another, until 3 of the massive birds are riding the thermals that rise from the sun-warmed stones. They never flap, just subtle adjustments of wing angle that keep them aloft, spiraling higher and higher until they're just specks against the blue. You watch them until your eyes water from the brightness, then close them again, the after-image of wings floating behind your eyelids. The sounds of the citadel have changed with the thinning crowds. You can hear individual elements now, water running through distant channels, the call of a bird from the temple walls, the whisper of wind through stone doorways. Sometimes footsteps pass on the paths below, accompanied by quiet voices in various languages, but they seem part of the landscape rather than an intrusion, like the sound of the river far below. Time does something strange here on the terraces. You might have been lying in the grass for minutes or an hour. The sun has moved, creating new patterns of light and shadow, but the movement has been too gradual to notice. Your body feels heavy and light simultaneously, grounded to the earth, but also floating on the warm afternoon air. Your breathing has found its own rhythm, deep and slow, matching some larger pulse of the mountain itself. A sound close by makes you turn your head. A vizcacha has appeared on the terrace wall, one of those rabbit-like creatures with long tails that have made the ruins their home. It regards you with calm curiosity, whiskers twitching as it tests the air. Satisfied that you pose no threat, it begins grooming itself with careful attention, pausing occasionally to check that you haven't moved. The two of you share the terrace in perfect peace, each claiming your own patch of afternoon sun. Eventually the vizcacha bounds away with surprising grace, disappearing among the stone structures above. Your shoulders sink deeper into the earth with each breath, the day's exploration settling into your bones. You sit up slowly, grass patterns pressed into your skin, feeling wonderfully rested. The city looks different from this angle, from this state of afternoon calm. The buildings seem to have settled deeper into their foundations, the shadows grown longer and softer. Everything has a warm tinge now, as if the stones themselves are holding the day's heat like memory. You rise and wander without particular direction, following whichever path seems most inviting. Near the royal residence, you find a doorway that frames a perfect view. Terraces in the foreground, the river valley beyond, mountains marching to the horizon. The doorway is built in that distinctive Inca style, wider at the bottom than the top, a shape that has survived earthquakes that would topple rectangular openings. You sit in the doorway, back against one side, feet touching the other. The stone is cool here, shaded from the afternoon sun, a relief after the warmth of the terraces. The contrast makes you more aware of your body, the warm parts and cool parts, the way your breathing moves your chest, the gentle pulse in your wrists. You're not thinking about anything in particular, just being present in this ancient doorway, feeling the mountain breeze move past you into the room beyond. From here, you can watch the life of the citadel in its afternoon rhythm. A few visitors still explore, but slowly, cameras hanging forgotten at their sides. A guard sits in the shade, no longer needing to direct traffic, just being present. Two llamas graze on a distant terrace, their movements so slow they seem like part of the landscape itself. Everything has downshifted into a lower gear, matching the drowsy pace of afternoon. The fountains call to you again, their constant music carrying across the quiet citadel. You make your way to them slowly, pausing to run your hand along walls, to peer through windows, to stand for a moment in patches of sun or shade. There's no urgency to reach any particular destination. The journey itself is the point, this gentle movement through ancient spaces. At the fountains you find a spot where you can sit close to the falling water. Each of the 16 levels creates its own sound, some deep and resonant, others light and playful. Together they form a symphony that's been playing continuously for 5 centuries. You close your eyes and let the sound wash over you, through you. The sound releases something in your chest, a loosening you didn't know you needed. The water is hypnotic to watch as well as hear, the way it flows over carved stone, finding the path prepared for it so long ago, the way it catches the afternoon light, turning to liquid amber for a moment before falling into shadow. You cup your hands and let the water run through your fingers, cold and clean, a blessing from the mountain springs above. A butterfly appears, dancing around the fountain's spray. Its wings are brilliant blue on top, brown underneath, flashing between colors as it moves. It lands on the stone beside you, wings opening and closing like slow thought. You hold perfectly still, not wanting to disturb this moment of shared space. The butterfly seems to be listening to the water too, or perhaps just enjoying the cool mist that rises from the fountain. When it finally flies away, you follow its path with your eyes until it disappears over a wall. Then you rise and continue your wandering, drawn now to the eastern side of the citadel, where the afternoon shadows are beginning to gather. Your movements grow even slower now, as if the afternoon has thickened around you. Here you find quieter spaces, corners where few visitors venture, where the stones hold their silence more completely. In one such corner, you discover a small room with a single window facing east. The afternoon light enters at a sharp angle, creating a rectangle of warm light on the opposite wall. You sit in the shadowed part of the room, watching the light slowly move across the stones. It's like a natural clock, marking time in the most gentle way possible. The rectangle shifts almost imperceptibly, creeping across the ancient masonry, highlighting textures and colors invisible in direct observation. Your eyelids grow heavy in the quiet warmth, not quite sleeping, but entering that drowsy state where thoughts become fluid, where the boundary between self and surroundings begins to soften. You're aware of your breathing, of the weight of your body against the stone floor, of the sounds filtering in from outside. But it all feels distant, muffled, as if experiencing it through layers of silk. A sound brings you back to fuller awareness, human voices approaching, but they pass by without entering your sanctuary, their footsteps fading toward the main plaza. You're grateful for the solitude, for this gift of quiet afternoon hours in a place that sees thousands of visitors daily. The light has shifted significantly when you finally stir. The rectangle has moved to a different wall entirely, and the quality of light has deepened, becoming richer, more amber than gold. You stand slowly, joints stiff from stillness, and make your way back outside. The transformation is remarkable. Everything is bathed in the warm light that photographers call the golden hour. The stones hold the day's warmth like memory. The grass on the terraces has shifted from green to honey-colored. The mountains beyond are layered in shades of purple and blue, each ridge distinct in the clear air. Even the shadows have color, deep indigos and browns painted across the ancient stones. You find yourself back at the main plaza, that central grass field surrounded by the most important buildings. A few other late-staying visitors have gathered here, drawn by the spectacular light. But everyone maintains a respectful quiet, speaking in whispers if at all. There's something about this time of day at Machu Picchu that demands reverence, a recognition that you're witnessing something special. You choose a spot on the grass and sit, simply watching as the light continues its transformation. Each step takes longer than the last, not from reluctance, but from a deep, satisfied slowness. The city reveals new faces in this evening glow. Stones you walked past earlier without noticing now catch the light in ways that make them seem important, precious. The precision of the construction becomes even more apparent when shadows emphasize every joint, every angle. A wind picks up, cooler now, carrying the scent of evening. It moves through the city with a sound like silk through stone corridors, entering doorways and exiting windows, making the ruins feel alive in a way they haven't all day. You pull your layer closer, grateful for the warmth, but savouring these last moments of light. The guards are beginning their gentle rounds, reminding the last visitors that closing time approaches. But they do it quietly, understanding that these final moments are precious. You rise with easy acceptance, taking one slow turn to imprint the scene in memory. The terraces stepping down into shadow, the temples warm with stored sunlight. Machu Picchu standing dark against the evening sky. Your whole body feels soft now, prepared for rest. As you make your way toward the exit, moving as if through honey-thick air, you feel complete. The city has given its gifts. You carry them with you now, woven into breath and bone. The stones have worked their magic, slowing you down, teaching you their patience, sharing their peace. At the final viewpoint, you pause briefly. The city is settling into evening, the stones releasing their stored warmth into the cooling air. Soon it will be empty again. Return to the guardianship of the mountains and the night. This is as it should be, the ancient rhythm of gathering and release, presence and absence, day folding into night. The exit gate appears, that threshold between the ancient and the modern world. You approach it with the same easy pace that has carried you through the afternoon. There's nothing to resist, nothing to cling to. The city will be here tomorrow, and for centuries after. But this day, this perfect afternoon wander, is complete. You carry its peace with you as you cross the threshold, ready now for whatever comes next. The bus waits in the gathering dusk, its interior lights creating a warm glow against the darkening sky. You find a window seat and settle in as the last visitors board, everyone moving with the same unhurried pace that the afternoon has taught. The engine starts with a low rumble, and slowly, gently, you begin the descent back to Aguas Calientes. Through your window, the landscape transforms once more. What was sharp and clear in morning light now softens into silhouettes and shadows. The forest presses close to the road, darker and more mysterious than it seemed at dawn. Occasionally, the headlights sweep across the vegetation, revealing glimpses of green before returning to darkness. But mostly you see your own reflection in the glass, overlaid with the fading light outside. The switchbacks that felt dramatic this morning now rock you gently, back and forth, back and forth. The motion is soothing, like being cradled. Other passengers are quiet, some already dozing, heads resting against windows or companions' shoulders. The shared silence feels comfortable, as if everyone is processing the same profound experience, finding their own way to carry it forward. With each turn, you descend further from the ancient world back toward the modern. But something has changed. The peace of the afternoon terraces travels with you, settled into your muscles and bones. Your breathing remains deep and slow, still matched to some mountain rhythm. The city may be behind you, but its gifts are woven into your being now, impossible to leave behind. The lights of Aguas Calientes appear below, scattered like stars along the river valley. They grow larger with each switchback, until individual windows and street lamps become visible. The town seems smaller now, cozier, a gentle transition between the heights and the world beyond. The bus releases you at the same spot where the morning began, but everything feels different in the soft evening air. The walk to your hotel is quiet. Most shops are closing, metal gates rolling down with soft rattles. A few restaurants still glow with warm light, the smell of cooking food drifting into the street. But you're not hungry. Your body wants only rest, integration, the quiet processing of all it has experienced. The river sound is louder now in the evening stillness, its constant voice welcoming you back. Your hotel owner greets you with a knowing smile, the kind reserved for those returning from the mountain. She doesn't ask about your day. The answer is written in your peaceful expression, your slowed movements, the way you seem to be still partially elsewhere. She simply nods and wishes you a good evening in soft Spanish, understanding that words would be superfluous. The stairs to your room require deliberate attention, your legs heavy with the day's walking and climbing. But it's a good heaviness, the kind that promises deep sleep. The hallway is dimly lit, other guests already settled into their rooms. Through thin walls you hear the quiet sounds of evening routines, water running, soft voices, the creak of beds accepting tired bodies. Your room welcomes you like an old friend, simple and unchanged, but somehow more precious now. You don't turn on the harsh overhead light, finding your way by the gentle illumination from the window. The curtains are open, revealing the dark shapes of mountains against a sky still holding the last memory of light. And always, always, the sound of the river, clearer now than ever. You move slowly through your evening preparations, each action a gentle release of the day. Shoes set aside, layers peeled away, everything holding the warmth of sun on stone, the memory of ancient paths. The shower runs warm, and you let the water carry the last of the day into deeper settling, not washing away, but allowing everything to find its place within you. Clean clothes feel soft against skin. You're aware of textures without grasping them. Cotton, cool floor, the slight roughness of towel. All of it simply present, simply noticed, like the way you learned to see the city this afternoon. You lie on the bed without pulling back the covers yet, just resting on top of the blanket. Somewhere in the hotel, a door closes softly. Footsteps pad down the hallway and fade. These small human sounds settle into silence, leaving only the night's own voice. Through the open window, the river dominates, but within its constant voice you can hear variations. Places where it runs faster over rocks, pools where it slows and deepens. A night bird calls somewhere in the darkness. Then quiet returns, deeper than before. The ceiling above is plain white, barely visible in the dimness. But in your mind's eye you see stone. Not specific walls or buildings, but the essence of stone. Patient, enduring, warm with stored sunlight. You close your eyes and the images flow naturally. Morning mist parting to reveal terraces, the precise fitting of blocks, water falling through ancient fountains, a butterfly's wings opening and closing like slow breath. But these aren't memories exactly. They've already begun transforming into something else, something deeper than conscious recollection. The sharp edges soften, colors blend, the chronology of the day dissolves into impressions, sensations, moments of pure being. This is how experience becomes part of you, not through effort, but through this gentle dissolution, like sugar dissolving in warm water. You shift position, pulling the blanket up now, creating a cocoon of warmth. The river sound seems louder with your eyes closed, more complex. You can almost see it in the darkness, silver in moonlight, black in shadow, always moving, always constant. The same river the Inca knew, the same song it's been singing since before humans walked these valleys. Your breathing naturally syncs with the water's rhythm. In with one set of rapids, out with the next. No effort required. Your body knows this rhythm now, learned it through a day of mountain breathing. The boundary between your breath and the river's voice begins to blur. Are you breathing with the water, or is it breathing with you? Impressions drift through your consciousness, no longer memories but something softer. Warmth of stone, coolness of mist, the feeling of doorways opening, ancient rhythms flowing through you. These aren't images to follow but sensations to sink into. You're not walking or watching now, just dissolving gently into the textures of the day, letting them weave themselves into the fabric of sleep. In one moment, you're simply held, by stone, by mist, by time itself. In another, you're flowing with rhythms older than memory. These impressions don't disturb your deepening rest. They're part of it, gentle currents in the river of consciousness, carrying you deeper without destination. The river continues its patient instruction in persistence, in finding the way forward, no matter the obstacles. Your thoughts become like water too, flowing around any remaining tension, wearing it smooth, carrying it away. There's nothing to hold on to, nothing to resist, just this gentle current pulling you deeper into rest. Listen. The river has so many voices, the high notes where water meets air, the deep tones where it runs against bedrock, the middle harmonies of flow over flow, all of it weaving together into one song that has been playing here for millions of years. Your ancestors heard it, the Inca heard it, tomorrow's children will hear it. And tonight, you're part of this endless continuity, this patient music that needs no beginning, no end, just this eternal flowing. The sound fills the room, fills your awareness, until there's no separation between hearing and being heard, between flowing and stillness. You rest in the river's embrace as surely as in your bed's comfort, both holding you, both carrying you, both knowing exactly where you need to go. The mountains stand guard in the darkness. Machu Picchu rests empty on its ridge, stones cooling in the night air, waiting for tomorrow's sun, tomorrow's visitors, tomorrow's gifts of presence and wonder. But that's far away now, high above. Here there's only the river and the night and this sweet descent into sleep. Your last conscious thought is wordless, a feeling rather than an idea. Gratitude maybe, or recognition. The understanding that you've touched something eternal today and been touched by it in return. That some experiences change you gently, like water shaping stone. And then even that thought dissolves. There's only breathing and river song. Only darkness and depth. The river sings on through the night, patient as stone, constant as breath, carrying you deeper and deeper. River song, breath, stone patience, rest.